Hello and welcome to our webinar, How to Develop Open Enrollment Communications Like a Marketing Pro. My name is Liz Pond and I'm a Senior Communications Specialist at the Benefit Services Group. I work with clients across the country who range in size from 200 to over 2,000 employees in industries including healthcare, manufacturing, higher education, and insurance. I've spent about 12 years in marketing and communications, so today I'll be putting on my marketing hat to talk about how we can improve employee communications, both during open enrollment season and beyond. Let's dive right in. Today I'm going to share with you what I've learned throughout my career on how to use marketing tactics to make employee communications more engaging. First, we'll discuss why good employee communications are so important to your overall employee engagement strategy. We'll then go into some of the top communication trends for 2019, and then we'll get to the main attraction, 8 tips for developing your open enrollment communications, and all employee communications for that matter, like a marketing pro. Let's get started. To very loosely quote Jerry Seinfeld, what's the deal with employee communications? Why should we care about them and why are they important? Let's take a look at some recent research to see why they are so important to employee satisfaction and retention. We'll also take a look at the current state of affairs as far as open enrollment communications go. One of the primary outcomes of good employee communications is increased engagement. Let's take a look at why engagement is so important to your business. Healthy and engaged employees, when combined with a strong workplace culture, are the secret to your business's success. In fact, a study by Gallup found that highly engaged teams show 21% greater profitability. The report finds that the most successful organizations make employee engagement central to their business strategy. They give employees clear expectations and provide them with the tools and support they need to do their best work. Why are these highly engaged teams more profitable? Gallup also found that teams who score in the top 20% in engagement see a 41% reduction in absenteeism and 59% less turnover. Engaged employees show up every day with passion, purpose, presence, and energy. These are the type of employees we want in our company. And it's important to note that engagement doesn't happen in a vacuum. It's created through positive employee experience, which can be influenced by employee communication. Here's another reason why engaged employees are vital to a company's success. A Salesforce report found that employees who feel their voice is heard are 4.6 times more likely to feel empowered to perform their best work. Recognition and feedback are important to employees, but they're not enough. Today's employee is more collaborative than ever and expects communication to be a two-way street. So not only should you be talking to them, you should also be listening to them. Ensuring that employees' voices are heard needs to be part of a larger push for diverse viewpoints within the workplace. Communications should take more than just the HR team's or the executive team's viewpoints into consideration. Companies with more diversity consistently outperform the competition, in part because they incorporate a broader range of perspectives into their decision-making and strategy. Inviting more people to the table and ensuring their voices are heard is a win-win for everyone. You've seen what happens when employees are highly engaged, so now let's take a look at the opposite end of the spectrum. What is the impact of employees who aren't engaged? A recent report by the Engagement Institute found that disengaged employees cost U.S. companies up to $550 billion per year. This report highlights how important employee engagement is to your bottom line. Interestingly, the majority of respondents recognized why they weren't fully engaged. They listed compelling missions, highly trusted relationships, and well-designed jobs as things they are looking for leadership to provide. This is another reason why communication is crucial to a healthy organizational culture. Employees will tell you what they need to become more engaged, but only if you listen to them. We now know that employee communications are critical to engagement and that highly engaged employees result in more successful companies. But how do our open enrollment communications impact engagement? Let's take a quick reality check. Recent research from employee benefits provider Unum shows nearly half of U.S. workers, about 49%, spend 30 minutes or less reviewing their benefits prior to enrollment. This is according to an online poll of about 1,200 U.S. workers. Now, think about the benefits materials that you put out each year for open enrollment. Do you think that employees can make the best decisions by spending 30 minutes or less looking at them? Not likely. Why are employees not spending enough time with these materials? A recent MetLife survey found that half of respondents said the complexity of the material was the reason they weren't taking a deep dive into their benefits materials. They're not understanding what is being put out there, which is causing them to spend less time reviewing materials before making benefits enrollment decisions, which is a problem. What this tells us is that our goal should be to create employee communications that employees want to spend more time with. This will help them make better decisions about their benefits and, in turn, be more satisfied with their overall benefits package. Let's take a look at another issue with open enrollment communications: how they make employees feel. In the same Unum survey, employees reported feeling stressed, confused, and anxious when enrolling in their benefits. So what we now have is a group of employees who aren't confident in their open enrollment decisions because they struggle to understand the materials, and they're stressed out about it. I don't know about you, but this is not the way that I'd want employees to feel. Ideally, employees should feel educated and confident during open enrollment time. So, is the situation hopeless? Are we doomed to turn our employees into stressed out, undereducated benefits consumers who spend a few minutes with their materials before throwing them in the trash? Not so fast. The upcoming trends and tips that I've put together are designed to give you actionable ways to improve your employee communications, both during open enrollment and throughout the entire year. Let's begin. We'll start our journey to improving employee communications by looking at 5 trends to watch this year. While we're going through these trends, I encourage you to actively think about how you can apply these to your own employee communications, both during open enrollment and outside of it as well. Our first trend is to focus on employee experience. Employee experience is a hot topic in the HR and benefits world these days. It refers to what an employee encounters and feels or experiences during their time at the organization, from hiring and onboarding through the end of their employment. The graphic shown here goes through a typical employee life cycle, which includes recruitment, selection, performance, succession, development, and transition, either to a different company or retirement. Employee experience can have an impact on engagement and performance, as well as on retention and recruitment. If you haven't already, you can expect to see an increased focus on employee experience as part of your organization's communication strategy. How can you incorporate employee experience into your communications plan? Depending on the quality, content, and timing of the messages they receive, employee communications can have either a positive or a negative impact on employee experience. Think about the communications that you send out. What kind of effect do you think they have on the employee experience? Do they make your employees feel positive or negative about working at your company? When developing communications, it's important to take time to dig deeper and think about what your employees really want to hear and what will help them the most at each stage in their employment. For example, recruitment, onboarding, training, and exit. But how do you know what messages are going to resonate the most with them? This brings us to our next trend: continuous listening. Organizations looking to create a positive employee experience are focusing more and more on continuous listening when developing employee communications. Continuous listening is achieved when you solicit feedback, both formally and informally, throughout the year and during the stages of employment. Examples of listening during the employee life cycle can include pre-employment or post-onboarding surveys to understand the employee's experience with joining your organization. Examples of listening throughout the year include an annual survey, pulse surveys, which are quick 1 or 2 question surveys to gauge current employee engagement, focus groups, and performance check-ins. All of these are great ways to hear what your employees have to say. Continuous listening can play a key role in developing an employee communication strategy. You can use the feedback received from your employees to determine what topics they're interested in and the messages they want to receive. You may even want to give feedback on the frequency and type of communications your employees prefer, so you can tailor that to their needs as well. For example, monthly emails versus quarterly printed newsletters, whatever their preference is. Now, continuous listening doesn't have to be an expensive initiative. Free survey tools, such as SurveyMonkey, are available online and are a quick way to get feedback from employees. SurveyMonkey even analyzes responses too, giving you data that you can act on when you're developing communication plans. Another no-cost way to hear what employees have to say are quarterly check-ins between managers and employees. You could develop a specific list of questions to go through during these meetings. Make sure you're getting consistent feedback on the areas you're interested in. Our third trend is message segmentation. When it comes to employee communications, one size does not fit all. Messages that are tailored to employees' wants and needs will be more impactful than generic ones. Some of you may be thinking that you have messages that you need to get out to your entire employee population, so this tip won't apply to you. But even if a message needs to be seen by all employees, there are still ways to tweak the messaging so it resonates more with different groups. One way to do this is to keep the necessary information you're giving the same. For example, the details on the HSA your company offers, and also have a specific section on why this is important to you, where you tweak the message specifically for your audience group. For example, recent college grads or employees who are closer to retirement. So what are some ways that you can segment your messages? Take a look at your employee population to determine how to segment your messages. You may want to divvy up communications by demographic groups, work locations, or job functions, such as union or non-union employees. You may also decide to segment your employees by life stage or employment stage. For example, do you have a group of recent graduates who would be interested in a student loan repayment program, or a group of employees who are close to age 65 and may be interested in Medicare? You'd want to segment out these groups to make sure your message is being delivered to the right group of people whose lives could be enriched by using the benefit. If you've been using continuous listening, you should have an idea of how to segment your employees, as well as what these groups want from their communications, which will be invaluable as you develop your communication strategy. Our next trend is peer-to-peer communication. Your employees have told you what they need to know. Why not have them help you share your messages as well? Top-down messages from the executive team may work well for announcing major changes, but if you're trying to convince employees that enrolling in a high-deductible health plan is the best move for them, having a fellow employee share their story can be far more effective than an email from an executive. Get to know your internal influencers by soliciting their feedback and taking advantage of their connections within the workplace. Gain their buy-in, and they'll help you spread your messages more effectively. So how can you do this? Recruit a team to help you deliver your messages. Your organization's frontline managers, so people who have regular face time with employees through daily interactions, stand-up meetings, or semi-regular check-ins, can amplify your open enrollment messaging and serve as one of the most effective communication channels out there. This is especially true if you work at a company where the bulk of your workforce doesn't have access to email, manufacturing, for example. The last trend we'll be discussing today is consumer-grade quality. More and more frequently, the consumer world is being reflected in the corporate world. The way we experience communications in our personal lives is becoming the expectation for how we experience them in our work lives. Internal communications need to mirror a consumer-grade quality and experience if you want them to be successful. You can achieve this quality by creating communications that are visually rich and interactive. If you have a marketing team, leverage their strengths to build communications that use high-quality visuals and engaging language. Many companies have their own benefits brand, which includes the benefits logo, tagline, and color palette, so employees can easily identify benefits communications just as they would with any other brand that's out there. If you don't have access to a marketing team, there are websites out there that can help you develop a branded look. I'll give an example of one later. Here's an example of a benefits brand that we worked on for a client. I'm showing you this because I don't want you to think that benefits branding is only for Fortune 500 companies. It can be done for companies of any size with the right tools. The pieces on the left side of the screen were used for open enrollment, and the pieces on the right were used as part of a quarterly communications campaign. When you look at all these pieces together, the colors, look, and feel are the same, and this tells employees that these are communications from the HR and benefits team. All right, now on to the reason we're all here, marketing tips to help you improve your employee communications, both during open enrollment and beyond. Improving your open enrollment communications, even in small ways, can make people feel better about the important choices they have to make. It not only helps reduce the chances of people making decisions they may regret, it also helps boost morale and satisfaction throughout your organization, which gets us back to providing a positive employee experience. Our first tip for open enrollment communications is one that marketers are very familiar with: know your audience. Here's three best practice tips for knowing your audience. The first part is segmentation. We talked about this earlier in the trends section, but it's so important I'm bringing it up twice. The biggest part of knowing your audience is knowing who they are and segmenting them into groups. It's important for you to be sure that the right messages are going to the right people. This helps improve the overall employee experience. The second part is to strategize key messages. Messages should be a mix of what employees have told you they want to know and what you need them to know for this year's open enrollment. For example, that you're offering pet insurance this year and giving details on how that could benefit their four-legged family members and how they can sign up. Or you may want to promote your HDHP plan this year and think of how you can be strategic about encouraging employees to make the switch to a high-deductible plan. If you've been using continuous listening, your employees will tell you what they want to know, so you may need to include some additional FAQs for different benefits based on what they've told you. Also, make sure you always provide one strong call to action that clearly describes what you want the employee to do. For example, log into the benefits site and select their 2020 benefits. And the last part of engaging employees is engaging employees as if they were customers. When you engage them as customers, you'll find yourself altering the way benefits are communicated. Instead of focusing on individual benefit products, you can help employees understand how benefits work together to add value to their lives. Let's take a look at an example. Here you'll see a product-based message versus a value-based message. Let's say that this year you're offering hospital indemnity insurance for the first time. The first message is, we will be offering hospital indemnity insurance this year as a voluntary benefit. It focuses on the individual product, which is hospital indemnity insurance. In contrast, the second message is, hospital indemnity insurance provides coverage for unexpected hospital visits, which can be very expensive and which sometimes aren't covered by insurance plans. This is a value-based message, as it helps employees understand how benefits work together to add value to their lives. When you're engaging your employees as customers, especially in an employee benefits communication, you'll want to use a combination of product and value-based messages to get your point across. Many times we're great at communicating what we're offering, but we fall short in communicating the value of the benefit. Make sure you're communicating the value of whatever benefit you're promoting so employees can see how they can be positively affected by enrolling in it. Our next marketing tip is to build your brand. Employees should be just as familiar with your benefits brand as they would be with any other major brand. When they receive a communication from you, they should know that it's from the HR or benefits team. This is especially important at open enrollment time, so they see your communications and know they should be paying attention to what's inside. Here are a few things to consider when building a benefits brand. Logo. Do you want to have a specific total rewards logo to further set apart your communication? The logo can be a great visual identifier to help employees easily recognize your benefits brand. Tagline. You'll need to decide if you want a specific total rewards tagline to accompany your communication pieces. For example, in the pieces I showed you earlier, the tagline was, together we can make a difference. Look and feel. Do you want specific colors to identify your benefits brand, or do you want to keep them the same as your company's overall brand? You'll also need to think about the voice of your communication. Are you more informal and fun, or do you take on the role of a professional advisor? Now, these choices should be made based on your organization and your employees' wants and needs. Now, if you have a marketing team, you can ask them for their help in creating a brand for you. But what if you don't? If you don't have access to a marketing team, Many benefits consulting firms, including ours, offer communication support and can work with you to build your brand. There are also a number of freelancers out there who could be hired for logo or design work. Additionally, the website canva.com, which is listed here, is an easy and free way to create professional-looking pieces that can be used in your open enrollment materials. On to our third marketing tip, getting into homes. Many times, the employee is not the primary decision maker for employee benefits decisions. A spouse, domestic partner, or dependent could be heavily involved in the decision-making process as well. It's important to get into homes so that spouses, partners, and or dependents can be involved in the decision-making process during open enrollment as well. An easy way to get noticed and to literally get your foot in the door is to send a postcard to homes. Be sure to include specific information on where spouses or others can go to find information on open enrollment, since they'll be making those decisions as well. This postcard does a good job of addressing the who, what, where, when, and why of what an employee needs to know for open enrollment. The who is partners and employees. The what is open enrollment, and it tells them specifically what they need to do to sign up. They need to make benefit selection, update personal information, and beneficiary designation. The where is they need to visit the benefits enrollment website, and login information is provided, so other members of the household don't have to go searching for it. The when is it gives the dates of open enrollment and also when they can expect to see additional information sent to their homes. The why is to confirm their benefit selections and personal information for the upcoming year. Benefits information should be easily accessible outside of the workplace. Sending print materials to the home is a great way to get information to the household. However, it's important that you also have an online resource for employees in the off chance that something does get thrown away, which isn't going to happen anymore once you start taking a marketing approach to your materials, but just in case. You can achieve this by having either a public website with all of these documents listed, or another website that employees can log into to access the information. Many online enrollment systems already have a resource library where you can post this information. So if you use one, I encourage you to check out that possibility. Some additional ideas on what you can do are to make open enrollment content easier to share. Add "and household" next to employees' names on the address lines of anything you send in the mail. For in-person open enrollment meetings, you may want to consider offering a session or two after working hours or on the weekend so other members of the household can attend. If that's not possible, you can see if you can offer access to your meetings by webinar or by phone, or offer a recorded version after the fact. Also, you could add a simple note to all of your benefits emails, reminding employees to forward this to their family members if they are not the primary benefits decision maker in the household. Marketing tip number 4 is keep it simple. We heard before that employees are stressed, confused, and anxious when making benefit elections. Thinking like a marketer, how can we ease their fears during this time? One way to do so is by making their benefits easy to understand. Many of us speak benefits as a second language, but few of our employees do. I once heard the phrase, "use real human language when talking to real humans," and I think that's a good mindset to have when developing open enrollment communication. You know what happens when the open enrollment communication is complex and dry? According to research by Jellyvision, people start skipping benefits meetings, 20% skipping versus just 6% when meetings aren't perceived as boring. They throw mailers in the trash unread, 22% versus just 7% when the content isn't dull. And they stop paying attention to what you have to say and go on to make decisions they may later regret. So let's keep our employees interested in our benefits guides out of the trash. Here's how to talk like a human. Talking like a human 101. Break benefits down as much as possible. Avoid jargon. You should write the way you talk. The way you talk to your employees face-to-face is friendly and conversational, even when you're talking about health insurance and benefits portals. But when it comes to writing, we tend to get too complex. Read your writing out loud to help you cut out jargon. Use examples and testimonials. Millennials especially respond to hearing success stories from their peers. Don't just write an email about how that high deductible health plan can be great for those who don't go to the doctor very often. Have an actual person talk about how it saved them money and made them a better healthcare consumer. And don't be afraid to use humor to liven things up. You don't have to be a comedian, but keeping your communication short and fun can go a long way toward engaging your employees. Here's an example of Extreme Makeover Benefit Guide Edition. Let's take a look at the before and after. Before, for 2020, the medical plan design remains the same. New HDHPs are being offered to all employees through Anthem. And the after. Great news! Our medical plans are not changing for 2020. You'll continue to have two options for medical insurance through Anthem. Both are high deductible health plans, HDHPs. Now, when you hear these examples, which one would you rather read? The first one is very to the point and is a little dry and impersonal. The second example adds some excitement to it and personalizes it. Instead of keeping it in the third person to all employees, it takes a more personal approach and addresses the reader directly. It also spells out an acronym that many of us in the benefits world take for granted, but not all employees are familiar with, HDHP. As a general rule, you should spell out any acronyms the first time they are used and put the acronyms in parentheses behind it. Then, for subsequent uses, you can use the acronym. The first example also includes the phrase medical plan design, which is a bit jargony. We've simplified so that the average person can quickly and easily understand what that means. Our fifth marketing tip is to create positive experiences. Positive experiences are key to building a brand, and the same goes for employee communication. Continued positive experiences with your communications are key to improving the overall employee experience. So how can we do this at open enrollment time? Think it through. Deliver the right message to the right audience. Delivering the messages they told you they want makes employees feel heard, which results in a positive experience. Also, you'll want to include all personal information that they need to know. Don't assume that they have everything, such as login information, as you may have a significant other or dependent going through these materials to make the decisions. Timing is everything. Don't overwhelm them with all of your open enrollment communications at once. Start communicating a month or two in advance, then ramp up communications before and during open enrollment. Also, think about workloads. On Mondays, people's inboxes can be pretty full, so sending a message later in the week could be more effective and get more eyes on it. Appearance is important. Check for errors and typos and make sure that you have your open enrollment dates and times correct. Sending out a retraction or update because your communication has errors causes you to lose credibility and produces a negative experience for your employees. Also, this is where branded communications come into play. Communications that are slick and more visually appealing will create a more positive feeling about the communication than something that was thrown together last minute and looks that way. Tip number 6 is to take a multimedia approach. You can communicate benefits more effectively at open enrollment time by using the channels employees find most effective. According to MetLife's 2019 Employee Benefit Trends Survey, the top 5 most preferred channels are the company's benefits website, the provider's website, in-person group presentations, benefits handbooks, and one-on-one guidance. In regards to one-on-one guidance, make sure your employees know how to find you and your colleagues on the benefits team by adding helpful photographs to identifying faces and adding relevant phone numbers, email addresses, and desk locations so people can find you. This is especially important if you work in a large workplace. Also, if you're personally available to help people walk through tough decisions, let them know. Add a postscript to your email signature saying, "Come to me with your open enrollment questions. I'm happy to help." Video can also be a great tool for a variety of reasons. Videos are engaging. Our eyes are hardwired for motion. It's the best way to attract and hold people's attention. Video is also a great way to explain complex ideas. There are explainer videos all over the web, and if you're on Facebook, you probably see about 30 of them a day. From cooking demos to building a deck, auto repair, and planting gardens, these videos are everywhere. Video resonates with people. It's a unique medium. It combines music, voice, humor, motion, and art to create an emotional connection people need to feel confident in making an important decision. Next, I'd like to show you an example. Here's a video we created to explain the difference between a health facility and a health provider. This video was created to help clear up confusion for employees. Video is meant for concepts like what we just watched. A quick explainer video can give your employees more clarity into how their benefits work. What's nice about this video is that it clocks in about 2 minutes, which is about as long as you'd want to do for a video like this. If you have more content, you may want to think about doing multiple videos so your employees don't tune out and miss important information. Videos are also a great way to make announcements at open enrollment time, or to use employee testimonials, since we talked about the power of testimonials earlier. Now, you don't have to worry about high production value. Most smartphones have the capability to produce videos as well that can be used for testimonials. Right, we're in the home stretch now. Tip number 7 is to get out of the box. I encourage you to find creative ways to communicate about open enrollment. What can you do that will grab employees' attention and get them thinking about open enrollment? This could be anything from flyers in the bathroom. You have a captive audience, so you may as well take advantage of it. If your employees are big coffee drinkers, coffee cup sleeves can be a creative way to reach them. Another way to catch employees in the cafeteria or break room is to put table tents on lunch tables so they can get details on open enrollment while they're eating. You could also do a giveaway or promo item if they're in budget. A stress ball to say, we know open enrollment can be stressful, but we've got your back this year and we're making things easier than ever, could be a fun way to bring attention to open enrollment. You could also use video to create commercials in the break room to advertise that it's open enrollment time. These are just a few ideas, but anything that's out of the box and will capture employee attention will do here. The goal is to create a buzz about open enrollment. All right, we've made it. Our last tip, year-round strategy. Employees use their benefits 12 months a year, so you need to be communicating 12 months a year too. Communicate benefits all year round, not just at open enrollment time. Part of your yearly HR and benefits planning should be focused on communications. Create a content calendar to help keep you on track with what messages to send and when. For example, January might be a great time to talk about any financial products or programs you have out there. June and July can be a good time to remind employees of a telehealth program or urgent care services when they need a doctor while out of town or while they're on the go during the busy summer months. A better understanding of their benefits makes for a more confident employee, one who is less stressed out during open enrollment time. When employees have a better understanding of their benefits, this not only leads to a positive employee experience, but it also helps them see the value of the benefits you're providing. And employees who see value in their benefits and from the company are likely to be more satisfied in their job, more engaged, and less likely to leave, which benefits everyone. I'll end with another very loose quote from Oprah. What is the end result of taking a marketing approach to open enrollment and employee communications in general? You get more engagement, you get more engagement, you get more engagement, everybody gets more engagement! And with that, I want to say thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this webinar. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me directly. Thank you again for your time and attention, and have a great day.